Y'all remember that pretty viral and iconic moment that people still meme to this day that happened with Tyra Banks on America's Next Top Model?
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt once Secret Invasion ended. Welcome to my safe haven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for clicking on another video and joining me here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time checking out one of my videos and checking out the channel overall, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Michael, and I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek. And I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the force. I like to talk superheroes, video games, comic books, action movies, horror movies, sci-fi, fantasy, animated movies, and of course I like to talk about black representation and queer representation. So if that is something that you are interested in, if you believe that representation matter, if you love the fact that there is a voice speaking for the LGBTQIA community, the LGBTQIA community of color, giving perspective and voice to that, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Check out the other videos on my channel. Watch the videos to the end for the watch time, because that's the most important thing on YouTube. Watch, like, share, comment, interact on this video for the all gay rhythm. And then also, if you could hit that like button on this video, it'll really help with the YouTube algorithm and promoting this video to other people that might be interested in it, so then they could come over to my channel and perhaps subscribe as well, so the channel can continue to grow. Whether you are a new person or you're a regular user on the channel. If you're a regular user on the channel, you should already hopefully know to hit the like button. But with that said, I'm still gonna ask, please, 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 please hit that like button. But anyway, with that said, and I know I'm super late on this video, if you are a regular here on the channel, you know that pretty much all of the MCU movies, I think the only one that I missed was Miss Marvel, but I would go and review every single episode of an MCU show. Usually I would go live to review every single episode, but the reason I didn't do it for Secret Invasion is because when the show first started, for like the first 3 episodes, and if you've been following me on Instagram, you've been following my videos and everything like that, you already know this, but for anybody that's new or anybody that hasn't been following my other channels, I was sick for the first 3 episodes of Secret Invasion. At one point, I was in the ER, and so because of that, I wasn't able to review the first 3 episodes, and so then I was just like, you know what? I guess I'll just wait till after the show is over. And so now we are finally at that point. And so I'm not going to do a full play-by-play of Secret Invasion. And also with that, this is going to be a spoiler review. So hopefully you've seen the first 6 episodes of Secret Invasion. But I'm basically just going to give my thoughts of what I felt of those 6 episodes. So because of that, there might be some stuff I miss, or might be some stuff I don't talk about, because again, it's not a full play-by-play. It's just me talking really off of the dome of how I felt about Secret Invasion. So again, if you haven't seen Secret Invasion, check out Secret Invasion and then come back to this video, or you could just watch this video because it's not, I'll get into it. But anyway, to give a quick synopsis of the MCU version of Secret Invasion, not the comic book version, but Nick Fury learns of a secret invasion of Earth by a faction of shape-shifting Skrulls. Fury joins his allies, and together they race against time to thwart an imminent Skrull invasion and save humanity. And actually, for this one, let me grab my Nick Fury figure and put him right here, right front and center. I actually do have a Skrull. Oh wait, I think I have a Skrull down here somewhere. No, I don't. Oh yeah, I do have a super Skrull, but it's like all the way in the back. I'm gonna have to move other figures. I'm not gonna do all of that. But actually, you know what? I should. This is the comic book version of the Super Skrull. The first time we've seen a Super Skrull, and he had all the powers of the Fantastic Four. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but it's spelled KL''RT. I don't know. But this is the much better version of the Super Skrull than what we got in this show. And so, with that said, like, to get into the show, like, honestly, like, the first episode of the show, I was really invested. And then even before the first episode, like when they announced that they were going to finally do Secret Invasion, I was like, oh wow, that's gonna be dope. But then I found out it was only going to be 6 episodes. And then looking at all the other MCU shows and how, for the most part, all of them have ended pretty disappointingly. And a lot of it had to do with the episode length, because a lot of these episodes end up being under an hour. And then on top of that, how many episodes they have per season. Outside of WandaVision, they've all only had 6 episodes. And 6 episodes haven't been enough to tell any of these stories in any of these shows. But I still was somewhat optimistic with regards to Secret Invasion, especially after they announced that like each episode is going to be a little bit over an hour. Boy, did they lie to us, because those last like episodes 4, 5, and 6 were like 35 minutes. And it was just like trash. And that's basically how I felt about this show once it was all said and done. Trash. Like, this show left me so disappointed, especially in the direction of the MCU, especially when you get to the season finale. Like, I was just like, are we being punked right now? Because also, when you add another layer to the fact that if you look at the season finale of She-Hulk, the way this episode ended, they literally made fun of that in She-Hulk with the giant CGI monster fight and the action sequences. And not all superhero shows and movies need to end in a giant CGI masturbation fest. And that's also one of my biggest criticisms with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Like, the fact that it ended on that giant dragon fight, I didn't think it needed to end that way. I thought a much better climactic ending, especially considering it's called the Master of Kung Fu, or Shang-Chi is the Master of Kung Fu, and it's supposed to be like the first MCU Kung Fu movie. It should have been a fight between Shang-Chi and his sister fighting their father. That would have been a much better climactic battle as opposed to them fighting a giant CGI dragon. And it's the same thing with this show. Like, this show is supposed to be about spy espionage, not being able to trust each other. And when you think about, and I feel like I'm going to be talking mostly about the season finale for most of this video, but when you think about, there was a part in the season finale where they were talking about what happened after the president gave his declaration that all non-Earthlings are enemy combatants on the US. And so you saw the world like not trusting each other, going after politicians, and ended up killing other humans, mistaking them for Skrulls. And all like that like 30-second sequence of the season finale should have been what this entire show was about. And going into like not having enough episodes, it's sad that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has a much lower budget than Secret Invasion, did it better in terms of like not trusting people. Like they did, there's that whole LMD storyline, I believe, in season 4 or 5. And it was basically almost kind of like Secret Invasion, because these characters were infiltrated by LMDs, which stands for Life Model Decoys. And if you haven't seen not Secret Invasion, if you haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a lot of people discount or don't really pay that much attention to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., mostly because season 1, and it's not even all of season 1, it's because the first half of season 1 was just so bad. And I was one of those people too. I was like, I started watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I fell off around like episode 11 because I was just like, there's nothing happening on this show. But then I eventually went back and I was like, wow, this show is actually really good. So if you haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I definitely recommend checking out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just get through like the first 13 or so episodes. But then after that, that's when the show really starts to take off, at least for me. And then it hasn't, I would say Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., out of all the superhero shows from like Arrow, The Flash, etc., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the show that to me was consistently good every single season, especially once you get to the 4th season. But yeah, this is not an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. review, but I'm just saying, like, it's sad that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did the whole, who can you really trust, a Secret Invasion better than the actual Secret Invasion show. Like, this show, it shouldn't have been a show. It should have been an entire phase of the MCU. It's called Secret Invasion. So there should have been Easter eggs and references to a Skrull invasion in every single, not just movie, but since it's all the MCU, the shows and the movies all connect, there should have been hints in every single show, movie, really since Phase 4. I understand Phase 4 wasn't the secret event, but there should have still been hints to it for it to culminate, and then maybe this final show, and then they had a big old, again, but it shouldn't have been a CGI. I wanted to say fest, but it should, I don't know. It's just I have a lot going through my head right now. That's like I'm trying to get it all out at once, but I need to calm down. So let me take a deep breath and slow down. So backtracking a little bit with the very first episode of Secret Invasion, like I thought based on the first episode, it had a lot of promise, and I was enjoying some of the moments and conversations that they were having within the MCU, especially with Nick Fury being the focal point of this series. Like the moment that he was on the train with Talos and him talking about his upbringing in the South and the racism and things like that, and what it was being a black man in the world, and him having to drive and the segregated train cars and things like that. That's backstory and things that you didn't get from Nick Fury, and things that I've always wanted from the character of Nick Fury, especially considering the fact that they introduced him as a black man, as the head of one of the highest government organizations in this world. And really, in many ways, SHIELD superseded the government in and of itself, and his struggles and all of that to get to that point. And I was hoping this show would be that, to get more backstory into Nick Fury, especially when a lot of the narrative regarding this show was about like this version of Nick Fury that we're seeing post Avengers Endgame, post him returning from the blip, is not the same Nick Fury that we are used to. The same Nick Fury that we got from the end of Iron Man to Avengers to Avengers 2, etc. Like, this Nick Fury is different. This Nick Fury is weaker. This Nick Fury is more timid. This Nick Fury isn't as cutthroat as he used to be. And it was something that they kept telling us throughout the 6-episode run of the show, but they never really dove into why he's different. They never really dove into what changed from Nick Fury post-blip and then Nick Fury pre-blip. Like, and that's also a big thing and a big criticism, even in like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that I feel like, especially, again, I have to go back to the episode length per season. Like, not only should these episodes be longer, there should be more episodes per season, because there should have been an entire flashback sequence in this show to show what happened to Nick Fury right before the blip, and then what happened to him when he came back from the blip, especially since we got introduced to this entire love interest that he has, Priscilla, or as her Skrull name is, Vara, a character that we've never even got a reference to before. We should have got more of that story. So what happened to him when he came back from the blip? And it was my same criticism with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or as it's now known, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. There should have been an entire flashback episode of what the world was like during the blip, when 4 billion people were disappeared from the planet, and how, because they talk about how the world was better, climate change was recovering, the oceans were, starting to return sea life, and more borders there were no such thing as borders. More and more people started to come together and get along. And then all of us, the cost of living went down, and people were wars and started to disappear, and yada, yada, yada. And then when people returned, all of that disappeared. And that's why the Flag Smashers had their motivation, because all of that progress that they had suddenly disappeared. Like, I wanted to see what that was like, which also coincided, should have been a flashback of John Walker's life when he was a soldier, and how did he get to the point that he was chosen to be the next Captain America. So that's the thing that was severely lacking in this episode: character development for Nick Fury. This is supposed to be a Nick Fury show, and yes, he was in every single episode and every single scene, but I still don't know more about Nick, outside of the fact that he has a wife. I don't really know more about Nick Fury after the show than I did before the show. And so to me, what was the point of this show if I don't know more about this character outside of the fact that he has a wife? You could have told me that in like a one scene thing in a movie. And then, like, being that this show is called Secret Invasion, it didn't really feel like an invasion. And that's why I said it should have been permeated throughout all of the MCU properties, really, since the seed should have been planted since Phase 1. Because obviously they can't do what they did in the comics, where, the Squirrel Queen took over Spider-Woman, and then there were all a bunch of other characters within the comics that became Skrulls, Invisible Woman, etc., etc., Elektra, all of these characters that were revealed to be Skrulls. You don't have those level of superheroes, or you don't. There is no Spider-Woman in the MCU. There is no Invisible Woman yet in the MCU. And then, I mean, we have Elektra, but Elektra isn't as prominent in the MCU as she is in the comics. But they still could have made it seem more of a threat. That's why, again, I keep saying it shouldn't have been the start of this invasion shouldn't have been a TV show. And then because it's a TV show, you're limited to how far your reach can be. So obviously the only major character that was revealed to be a Skrull is Rhodey. Not anybody else, not Sharon from Falcon and Winter Soldier with the weird way she was moving this whole time. They didn't even mention that. And I remember, and I know, like, I remember if you go back and watch my Falcon and Winter Soldier reviews, Ron kept saying from the longest time, he was like, watch for Secret Invasion. It's going to be revealed that Sharon is a Skrull because she's way different than when she's still like, she's a Skrull, she's a Skrull. And yet there was no reference to, like, as far as we know as of right now, she's still Sharon. She's still Sharon Carter. She's still the power broker. She's not a Skrull. And so because it's a TV show and a TV show, but like really only Rhodey being the Skrull, and he's been a Skrull apparently since Civil War, so he doesn't know about the death of Tony Stark. That moment that he had in Endgame connecting with Nebula about the fact that they're both cybernetic, all of that moment is now gone because it wasn't really Rhodey. The connection that he had, Black Man to Black Man, with Sam Wilson and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that connection is kind of gone because it wasn't really him. And granted, I guess you could still kind of say there's still that connection because a Skrull still kind of knows what it's like to be oppressed, but it's still, a lot of moments are just different now that we know that since Rhodey's been a Skrull pretty much for the last like 9 years. And honestly, like, I was excited for Armor Wars, but especially after like Quantumania, Secret Invasion, like I'm starting to feel, granted, Wakanda Forever, I love Wakanda Forever, but I am starting to feel like Marvel is becoming too complacent because they've been pretty much number one in the game for the longest time. And still, for the most part, I mean, granted, with James Gunn, the DCEU is starting to slowly, hopefully, take its place in the superhero and shared universe society or realm or whatever. But I feel like Marvel is starting to become very complacent because they're not really taking any risk with regard to their properties. And this is one thing that I've been saying for the longest time of why I think the DCU can easily and quickly surpass Marvel, because even before they became the DCU and before James Gunn took over, they still showed that they're willing to take risk with their superhero properties, and not just in the movies, but with their animated shows as well. Like, for example, they just announced that they're coming out with a new Justice League show, and it's going to be an animated Justice League show, and it's going to be rated R. Granted, they released it on streaming, but they still were willing to release a rated R version of Batman v Superman. They released a rated R version of the Suicide Squad. Peacemaker was rated R, but yet when it comes to the MCU, they won't even commit to having Blade be rated R. They only said Deadpool is going to be rated R because of the previous Fox contract and everything like that. But something like even Moon Knight should have been much darker than it was. Quantumania, not to say Quantumania should have been rated R, but Quantumania should have been much darker than it was. Like, they're afraid to take risks. They're still staying in the same MCU formula. And they kind of got out of that with this show. There wasn't like the standard jokey MCU formula things that they did, but it was still very safe at the end of the day. They still ended with that giant CGI battle that they literally just made fun of in their last show of She-Hulk. And then, like, there were so many missed opportunities with regards to this show. Like, and I understand that the majority of this show took place in the United States of America, and so you're bound to the laws of the United States of America. But there is a huge missed opportunity with regards to conversations regarding this show, being that there's a whole community of aliens living within the US, the Skrulls, and how they're reacting to the fact that it was revealed that these Skrulls are walking among us, but yet you have an entire community of Asgardians living in New Asgard in Norway, and yet they are, and you have Tessa Thompson's character as Valkyrie being the queen of New Asgard, the ambassador for New Asgard. She's having meetings with all the world leaders across the entire Earth, which includes the president of the United States, President Ritson. And he obviously has no problems negotiating and working with these alien creatures. But yet, when it was revealed that Skrulls are amongst us, he has an issue. Like, there could have been an entire conversation with regards to, like, the Skrulls saying, oh, you guys don't have a problem with these Asgardians, but it's us you have a problem with. And then also, in addition to that connection with Nick Fury, and him being a black man, like, there's just so many missed opportunities and missed conversations that this show could have opened the door, and very interesting conversations that this show could have had. Because, and honestly, Tessa Thompson should have been in this show as well. Like, I get she's not a Skrull, but she's still an alien, and this conversation in this show is very, very alien based, and she's an alien that's living on Earth. And the whole point of the Skrulls and the whole point of Gravik's revolution is that the Skrulls need a home, and that the Skrulls are looking for a home, and that the Skrulls have been displaced, just like the Asgardians. And now, let's get to the biggest problem with regards to this show and how it ended, in this looming thing that is now existing within the MCU. And that is the character of Gaia, played by Emilia Clarke, Daenerys Targaryen, first of her name, Stormborn, Breaker, whatever. I can't remember all of those titles. But, like, we don't need the Avengers anymore, right? Because she is a walking Deus Ex Machina. She has pretty much all the powers of not just the Avengers, but she has Thanos, all of the Black Order, Groot, Winter Soldier, so she can take out Kang the Conqueror. In the next Eternals movie, when the Celestials return, she can take out the Celestials, right? She's gonna show up in the next Captain Marvel movie and take out whoever Captain Marvel's villain is gonna be, right? Because she is the strongest person in all of the MCU. She's stronger than, at this point, she's stronger than Wanda. She's stronger than Doctor Strange. So, like, why do we need anybody else in this show? Why do we need other superheroes? Why do we need a Fantastic Four when we could just call Gaia to take out everybody? And then not even just that, but the biggest problem with Gaia and her new powers, like, even think about the storyline that's gonna happen with the Marvels. For some reason, Monica Rambeau, Carol Danvers, and Kamala Khan, all of their powers are interconnected somehow. And for whatever reason, whenever they use their powers, they switch places with each other or whatever. I don't know. Again, the Marvels hasn't come out yet, but just based on the trailer, that's kind of the story that they're going with. Well, guess what? Gaia now has Carol Danvers' powers, not from an artificial way, but she got it directly from Carol's blood. So is she going to show up in the Marvels? Is she going to switch places with Carol Danvers and Monica and all of that because she now has that power? Probably not. We're probably not going to see Gaia again anytime soon, probably for, I don't know, maybe Secret War. But either way, it's like, this character, the existence of this character creates a huge threat. And granted, considering Wanda is so powerful, and you could say the same thing about her, she could take out anybody. Right now, she's not in the MC. She's dead, but there were still certain limits to, like, Wanda's power and everything. Certain things that she couldn't do, certain things that she could do, yada yada yada. But, like, Gaia, she's Thor, she's Captain America, she's Thanos, she's like every character. She's basically, I don't know. It was so stupid. It was just so stupid. At least the Super Skrull only has the Fantastic Four's power, so he's still limited to a certain extent, but she's not limited really at all. I think the only power she doesn't have is Wanda and Doctor Strange. But other than that, she has basically every character that we've seen in the MCU so far. And it also doesn't make sense because they're like, oh, the way they got that is because all these characters bled on the Battle of Endgame. But, like, how does that even work? Because, like, Groot is made of trees. He doesn't bleed as far as I know. So like, part of me is like, how do you turn that into DNA? And then also like, who made Carol Danvers bleed in the Battle of Endgame? Like Thanos gave her a whole ass headbutt and she didn't feel that at all. So if Thanos couldn't make her bleed, who on that battlefield made Carol Danvers bleed? And then on top of that, I'm thinking like, considering this is the first time a lot of these creatures like Groot, the Floral Colossus, came to Earth, how did they even know who's like what did they have to compare these DNA samples to know that it was a Flora Colossus or Mantis's DNA was on the ground? How did they know that was like what sample do they have to compare? Like, oh, this is a species of alien, whatever Mantis's species of alien is. Like it just made me have so many questions. And if like the show wasn't as bad as it was, I wouldn't have all of these questions. But because it is, it made me have all these questions. Then on top of that, the fact that they able to easily use each and every single one of their powers with like she just got the powers like 2 seconds ago, and both her and I'm not just saying I am just saying her, but like both of them, they just got these powers like 2 seconds ago. They're automatically experts in Carol Danvers' powers. They're automatically experts in Mantis's powers. They automatically are experts in all of these other abilities that they shouldn't even know. I mean, maybe Gravik, because he was there to grab all of the DNA. But how do they know how each and every single character's powers even work? Especially characters that they never interacted with. Like Hulk, sure, he has super strength and they know he has super strength, but they never really seen Mantis. They don't know what her powers are. Even if they seen her fight in the Battle of Endgame, they shouldn't know that she has empathy powers and she can make him go to sleep. Like it was just stupid. Like at this point, I honestly feel like Marvel and Kevin Feige, because especially once you found out that the big CGI fight at the end was Kevin Feige's idea, I think he needs to sit down and like really have a meeting with like all the executives and things like that. Because I also feel like he's very stretched thin at this point, considering how large the MCU has grown. But they need to sit down and really think of like what they want. Because yeah, they have plans of like the storyline that they want to tell with the MCU, but they really need to figure out how they're going to get there and then go back to the roots of like what made the MCU successful. Because yes, we do want to see the crossover and interconnectivity with these characters. That is what makes this universe fun. But at the same time, they still need to go back to the idea of like telling cohesive and interesting stories and then also taking risks with these stories. The first Iron Man movie was a huge risk for Marvel because it was something that didn't exist like that of its kind before. A superhero movie of that caliber, especially with that level of budget taken seriously like it was. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I mean, not Falcon and Winter Soldier, Captain America and the Winter Soldier was a risk because it was a superhero movie, but it was a political thriller and using this espionage and spy aspect and things like that. Like Guardians of the Galaxy was a risk with the space opera aspect of, you know, superhero tales and something that was very different than even what the MCU has done before. But now I just feel like with all of these shows and all of these movies, not all of them, because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 I really enjoyed, and Wakanda Forever I really enjoyed. Out of all of the recent Marvel movies, those are the only ones that I've like really enjoyed. But at least for Phase 5, the only thing that I've enjoyed for Phase 5 so far, and granted, it's not like Phase 5 has had a lot of stuff come out, but Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the only thing that I've like really enjoyed out of Phase 5 so far. But like Quantumania, Secret Invasion, Thor Love and Thunder, I think that was Phase 5. Or maybe that was Phase 4. No, Thor Love and Thunder was Phase 4. But yeah, a Marvel, you in danger, girl. But with that said, I mean, I could keep going on a rant with regards to Secret Invasion, but I don't want this video to get way too long. I know, like I said, there's been people leaving me even in the comments saying like, we're waiting for your Secret Invasion review. Where's your Secret Invasion review? How come you haven't talked about Secret Invasion? So I just wanted to at least get this out and, you know, release a video to give my general thoughts with regard to Secret Invasion. Then also, like, not to say that I'm against them murdering characters, but I thought the death of Maria Hill was completely wasted. Like, they totally fridged Maria Hill for the sake of Nick Fury. And I do feel like that character deserved better. And considering how long she was in the MCU, like she was barely referenced after she died. Like her character almost played no purpose or presence or anything like that in the story after she died, as if she wasn't like Nick Fury's right-hand woman from the beginning. Like her character deserved better. She deserved more justice. And again, it's not to say she shouldn't have died, but even after her death, she should have had more of a legacy with regards to the show. Her character should have had more of a presence even after her death with regards to the show. And I feel the same way about like even like Nick Fury's relationship with Black Widow. Like we got more character building between like the relationships of Black Widow and Hawkeye, or the relationships between Black Widow and Nick Fury in like the What If series than we got in pretty much all of the MCU. Like even with this show, like there should have been a reference to like Nick Fury finding out that Black Widow died, because outside of Maria Hill, Black Widow was like his right hand woman. Like even when you think about What If, Nick Fury was the one that recruited Black Widow. He didn't even bring up the fact that he found when he found out that she died. Like outside of Hawkeye, because Hawkeye was her best friend, but like outside of Hawkeye, Nick Fury was also the closest person to her. And yet again, and that's the thing about these shows, like they need to do better with character development as opposed to just these characters just being there in these circumstances. Like even in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, my biggest thing with regard to the show was how much do we know about Falcon, or rather, how much do we know about Sam Wilson after 6 episodes of that show than we knew before the show started, outside of the fact that he has a sister. And it's the same thing with this. How much do we know about Nick Fury as a character outside of the fact that he has a wife? And the only one that really did it was WandaVision. Like we know more about Wanda. We know more about her psyche. We know more about, her love and connection with Vision. And so, but outside of that, like, and then kind of, I guess maybe even Hawkeye to a certain extent. But even then, we know more about Kate Bishop than we do Clint Barton. Like, who trained Clint? How did he become a member of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Who recruited him to S.H.I.E.L.D.? I'm assuming it's Nick Fury, but like, what is his connection to that? We found out his wife is also a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. How did they meet? What are their connections? Like, we don't really know more. We got more screen time with these characters, but we don't really know more about these characters than before these shows started. And that's my biggest problem with these shows. Like, I am a character guy. I want character development. And we haven't really gotten that from this show or a lot of these other shows. But anyway, like I said, I'm done with my rant. But the question is, for you guys that have seen Secret Invasion, what did you guys think about Secret Invasion? Did you have a favorite episode? I think my favorite episode out of the series is probably the first one. And then after that, it just got progressively worse and worse and worse till you got to that last season finale of the show where it just fell off the rails. But yeah, I'm still somewhat excited about the Marvels, considering it's directed by a Black woman, Nia DaCosta. And, the fact that we get to see Monica Rambeau again, the fact that we get to see Kamala Khan, and it's a movie starring 3 women, and 2 of them are women of color. So I'm still hoping that the Marvels is good, but honestly, like, I don't know. My faith in the MCU is not to say I'm done with the MCU, or I think everything from the MCU is going to be terrible, because, like I said, I like Black Panther, I like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so I'm pretty sure there's still going to be some things that I really enjoy. Hopefully the Marvels is one of them, but like, I don't know. Marvel just need to start, they need to just start taking more risks with their properties and have more episodes with these characters, and also give them more character development and allow these writers to do more with these characters and to flesh these characters out more. So yeah, like I said, Marvel, you in danger, girl. But like I said, for the all gay rhythm, leave your comments in the comment section below, like what you thought about Secret Invasion and all of that. Did you agree with me? Maybe there are some people in this that really enjoyed Secret Invasion. So hopefully you made it to the end of this video. If you did make it to the end of this video, thankfully, thank you. Because like I said, watch time is king here on YouTube. So hit the like button, watch, like, share, comment, interact on this video. For for the All Gay Rhythm. If this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. Tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.